Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for finding the time, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
I have you on
Oh,
so many records. I just love your playing. I've played with Tom Rainey quite a lot and Tim Berne and all these guys, and I love that you started working with them. I want to go there later, but I see some guitar effects back there, and uh, I wanted to ask you, like, when I consider you one of the pioneers or innovators of solo electric guitar in such a creative way that you started, and you've been doing that for a really long time. But when did that start for you, like just playing solo electric guitar? And I mean, back then it was not so many choices as now. Now you basically almost plug in and you have all the world on your
I
computer. But when did you start with noodling around? And
I think it was at the point where I had begun the point at, and I really wasn't very comfortable with it.
hmm,
But I've never been uncomfortable with improvisation itself. So it wasn't a lot to get over, but I believe that it started around the time that I really knew that I was going to be doing shit with with the looping technology.
hmm,
Once that was kind of established, um, it was a little confusing the first few times to play even looping because I knew where I wanted to go and I had some chops, but I didn't have the chops of having already done 5 years of that or 2 years of that or anything. It was just one moment in the in yeah, I knew where I was going in 1977 or
already. Wow. Okay.
76 or 77. And by 1980 is when I actually got my first true looping device, although I had shorter loops to work with previous to that. But it was the first time that I had something that I knew I had to develop a language with it and for it. And I think that was the moment where, my friends would go, "Oh, why don't you just, play? You want to play a gig, but you don't feel like playing with the band. Just why don't you play at the cafe?" And I'd go, "Oh, wow, just me? Yeah, yeah, just you." And the first couple are really scary. And frankly, I found a concert in outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in like I think it was something to do with a radio station that was attached to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, right?
Hmm.
There was a gig, and I was offered a gig and a solo, and somebody that offered it to me, and it was a kind of a strange. I never met the opening act. I was the closing act, and I decided I had written all the tunes for Cloud About Mercury.
Yeah.
They were done, and we hadn't recorded them, nor had we rehearsed them yet. But the writing was done. So I thought, oh well, I'll take this out, and I won't play those tunes exactly, but I'll start from that kind of point of view. What's happening in the looping, what the vibes are going to be, how I'm going to work with rhythm. Am I going to use the brand new thing called MIDI or not? Or
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
like all that shit. And that concert actually, I took two pieces from it and I mastered them like maybe about a year ago, thinking I would eventually put it up on my Bandcamp for people to hear because it's sort of funny.
It's always good to hear this stuff. I mean, when I hear you guys talking, you have like tapes or whatever from old gigs. I'm like, people put it up.
Yeah, yeah,
You need
yeah.
to hear this. It's history, you know.
I haven't done it. I haven't really done anything yet from historical stuff, and I have a couple of records to
Mm.
release that are really, really good. There's the duet. Will Calhoun and I had a duet called Love Bubble, and we played a couple of times just the two of us, and we did a radio show also just the two of us, and then we did 2 nights, 2 or 3 nights at the Knitting Factory with Michelle and Digiochello, playing bass and electronics and singing anything, saying anything she wanted to say, right? Like totally free. So uh, I don't have access to the recordings from the Knitting Factory of the Michelle show because it was on a format that is very difficult. Number one, it's difficult for me to find the data because of the nature of changing interfaces over the course of these last 30 years. And number two, uh, the it's on a format that doesn't exist anymore, so it becomes like a very like logistical problem, production problem to resolve, and I just haven't had time to do it because now I'm making more music than I have in years
Wow, really?
at on a daily basis, and I'm committed to doing this. So I kind of get funny about it, but I do have a record of me and Will that is completed. I mastered it once or mixed it as if it were mastered. Then I mastered it again about like 7 or 8 months ago, and I promised Will that I'm going to put it out because it's like 5 tunes, and they're not like anything. It's just not like anything. So it gives me good cause to let people hear that. So that's going to come out
Oh,
one day soon.
oh, man. Yeah, come on. We need all of these. It's
Going back to the historical thing, I think that it was really that whole lead up to from best laid plans on ECM
yep.
to Cloud About Mercury, where I finally got into a situation where I knew I could apply this looping stuff, and it was critical to the mass of the music. It was not going to work. I knew the music wouldn't work if I didn't have a single voice partner who could also do the same things that I do, but in their own way, and write that, at least shape that for them, so that even in the improv there'd be these glue things that just held things together. Okay, now you loop, long loops, no attacks, uh, overdub. I'll give you a sign when the melody's supposed to start. It was really like it was a very exciting time and enervating too
Mm,
because it got a lot of attention, which I'm a musician, so of course that felt really amazing. But it was also like kind of scary, like
yeah.
how did I get here? How come these people said yes to me when I asked them if they would play with me because I send them these like shitty little cassette tapes, which I had done in the past. Um, when I was in my Zobo Fun Band days, we were always sending out shit, and I was sending out stuff to labels that just out stuff that I still have with that is accessible to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Um, and it was a strange time, really very energized and confusing at the same time. Confusing, well, just that little bit of fame, right? One one cover of one magazine, and all of a sudden I'm writing for Guitar magazine in Deutsch in for Germany. I'm writing for Guitar Player, and all I have is like direction and some kind of bizarre philosophical take on things, and like what am I doing? Well, I guess this is what I have to do. I have to write this stuff too, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It was very strange. Um,
yeah.
and
But
when yeah, go
no,
ahead.
no, I
Sorry.
wanted to say, but you were so fresh. Like, if I mean, I was 7 back then when Cloud about Mercury came out, but so I found out about it later, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
when I look at things now, I mean, back it was just you were a different voice, completely different, because you had the fusion guys from the 70s, McLaughlin, Miola continuing. You had like kind of
And I knew I didn't want to do that, and
yeah,
I
even
knew
though
I
you had
want.
the chops, right? Because when
I
I hear the Everyman Band, it's like, man, there's some crazy shit in there you're playing. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had the chops. I still do, but they're very different than they were at that point in time, and focused on a lot more. I would have to say nuance and subtle detail that has now become. It's just a part of my nature to make sure that I understand, I know what I'm doing when I decide to hit that 25 cents sharp second on that note. I'm not kidding. It's not an accident. When I make an accident, you'll know it. You know,
yeah,
it won't be just a little out of tune. It'll be the bridge breaking or something. But at that time, I would say that as a as a person with a normal, healthy, sometimes unhealthy at other times ego, there are maybe 15 years ago or so, or a little bit earlier than that, I, I uncovered for myself that a new wave of guitar players was we're doing things like me with similar technologies and not knowing that it had already this is
yeah,
done. It's not finished, but it is something that has been established for the continuum of musicians that we are.
yeah,
And there have been these times where I've kind of gone, wow, these people are all talking about this shit and they don't know anything about it, and they don't know where they heard the sound from the first time. You know, if you look at the actual catalog of the number of times that my playing has been sampled by other people, from really huge UK hip hop artists to Madonna to, I'm not going to name a couple of the film composers that have way
sure.
overused samples of me, but that started in the background without people ever knowing that, oh shit, that's David playing that shit. And I could, there were jokes, and Tim made a lot of fun of me
Oh, sure.
when when we first started like really hanging out together a lot, and and, and we'd be sitting somewhere and some music would come on and somebody would walk over and would go, hey David, did you play on this? And I'd go, what? You know, music playing in the room, and I'd go, oh yeah, yeah, that's me. And it would be, or I would turn to Tim and I'd go, hey dude, that's me. That solo on that John Legend tune, that's me. I played that. And he's like, oh God, stop. You know, like, and I think there was that period of time where I had this recognition that I had been a part of something that did make a change in the way guitarists, electric guitarists specifically,
Yeah,
would approach their instrument more as a broader and more capable and broader element of arrangement, automatically by having a take on what the sonics could be beyond the great fuzz face things. And I don't feel like I started it because, I was listening to everyone who was even close to the outside of the edges of music. So I knew Sonny's Rock record was one of the first
Oh
records that
man, I
I
love Sunny Rock.
bought as a child. Like and and Cozy and I have to say I'm going to go to some weird ones for texture. Neil Young,
Oh yeah,
the
sure.
the
Yeah,
held
sure.
tones that the sound is constantly changing. Fucking Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, Terrier, of
Mm.
course. And people would go. So I was bugged for a while in there when after I after I had the Terry Riley revelation of where looping has really been and what it could do. Once I had that revelation, I just kind of, I just had knew I had to develop my own voice for it. As soon as somebody said, "Oh yeah, like Fripp does," and I'd go, "No, not like Fripp does." I had my friend Andy, put Frippertronics on. We were making a record, and he said, "You got to hear this Robert Fripp and Brian Eno thing," and put it on, and there's a it's a guitar looping, and I'm like, "Well, this is like Terry Riley.
Yep.
Is this live? Yeah, this is live. This is a performance. Okay, so this is like a Terry Riley thing, but with guitar." And he goes, and Andy said, "It's amazing, isn't it?" And I said, "It's a really nice sound. Take it off." Take it off. And that ego bit of me moved through in the future, so that anytime anybody said to me, "Oh, what are the tropes?" The first trope is, "Oh yeah, Frippertronics." I go, "No, not Frippertronics. I come from Rileytronics, and yes, I've heard Robert play, and yes, we know each other, and yes, we've traveled together, but I am not doing Frippertronics."
Yeah.
From the very beginning, knowing I had to make my own way, the same way that all of my teachers encouraged me to create my own voice on the guitar first. Like there was no real difference there. I knew that I had to find the things that would satisfy me when I listened back to them. That I
Yeah.
could, or that I could write and have performed or perform myself. Again, repetitively. And it's been a strange road, dude. I gotta say.
No, but it's amazing, really.
It,
Especially, like I said, the '80s, Eddie Van Halen, all the shredders coming out, and then there is you, like, Cloud About Mercury. I think I just listened to it today. I was playing with my daughter and uh, had that in the background, kind of, and every now and then I was like, "What is going on?" I mean, I have the CD, so uh, it's still a really modern sounding record, right? Because a lot of stuff from the '80s, it's like, okay, Chick Corea Electric Band, it's yeah, they're killing it, but it's '87 Electric Band, the sound, and this record is so, I don't know, open.
it was more
Almost.
important to me than continuing to you reach a point in your musicianship where you do actually you have developed a respect for the continuum in which you are an element. You're a person within this continuum of musicians. And for guitar players in that period of time, those late 40s to certainly into the 90s. And I think we have a mild we have a mild but very prevalent resurgence of, I wouldn't say an ambient approach to the electric guitar, but I would bring it back to where I think of this from, which is those textural capabilities, and I think that we're in another period of that now. But you had to have, I had to learn by the hard way because I wasn't a good student unless I had a mentor. I didn't work well in groups. Had no real social skills of any large value. Although I liked people and people liked me, my sociability was super low. And if you look at bullshit like that's real, like the ADHD spectrum, I was
Mhm.
there,
Hmm.
and I internalized a lot of things. But what I did with learning was most functional when I had a teacher, and they were honest, and they knew more than me, and they were more talented than me, and I was lucky because I ended up with a couple of teachers, even one when I was very young, that just encouraged me to not continue copying the things that we already know. Like, so, I did Hendrix,
Oh, sure.
you
Yeah.
know, I did Allen. I jumped off. Every time I heard myself recorded where I did something with the whammy bar that I knew was coming from a Holsworth record, I would I chastised myself to make my workarounds work, my flaws, as it were, work for me and get what I wanted out of pitch, not what I heard my hero Alan doing.
Mm.
And or oh man, there were just so many of them. John, who was for Abercrombie,
Oh, sure.
who was my most, I would say he and that first great jazz teacher that I had they were just so supportive and so musical. They were committed. They were already committed to a life in music,
Yeah.
and having those people is what kind of around is what busted me into just becoming completely obsessed with getting away from, especially in that fusion period where everybody was going everybody was going faster, louder,
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
And I started going, well, okay, but all this fucking pentatonic shit, and then starting to apply, more complex scalar forms, or just sliding around with the outside notes and changing keys. Sometimes this is not enough for me. It's not enough, and I don't want to have to do it at speed. I don't want to be a Marty Fogel from the Everyman Band
Yeah.
was I think he was the one. I think he said this to me at some point. He said, "You can play like really fast and shit, but you're just not a faster, louder, higher guy." you know, which I took as a compliment, because yeah, like I don't know, playing Spain at high tempos, or Coltrane at high tempos, which is a great exercise for the physicality of the instrument, but we're not in a race when we play music. We're in a struggle to express things that can't be expressed in words,
Yeah.
and that's been at the core of my shit, even when I'm working on even the most commercial things that I can do. It has to be sincere. I agree with Joni Mitchell on this, that she had problems with, and I think it was more about her friend's attitude than it was his fame. But she had problems with Dylan, because she saw him as being not sincere to himself in the cleverness of his writing. I think she was wrong about that, but I did pull from that what is important. I'm not really happy being around musicians that talk shit about other musicians for any
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
at a substantial period of time. I'm not interested in I'm not interested in whether I can make a line or not unless I'm challenging myself to do so. And it's not about the speed, it's about the musical need. Is that what needs to be there? So I've got my quartet is, my seventh string quartet is um, is premiering in Paris in like a couple of weeks,
Oh,
in
beautiful.
like January 13th at National Symphony Hall. And I wrote some lines. And when I say I wrote some lines, I did this on purpose. I wrote the string parts, all of the string parts, to a bed of texture that I created. That was my start for this quartet.
Wow.
Build the texture, which is like it was like functionally, except for form, it was less than a day project. Okay, have some ideas, feel around this. What is going to feel right with what you think you're going to write for the strings? Build that. I built that, and then I started writing the strings. And in the center section of the piece, I I really wanted them to play these lines tutti, everybody together. But I had this idea that I would write it, and I would write it. This is really fucked up. Okay, this is fucked up. And these people, Tana Quartet, man, they just they just fucking rolled with it. This is so good. They so rolled with it. No one complained. So there is no tempo in this. What was originally, I had to cut it down to 9 minutes and something seconds for the program of the nature of the premieres at this Ligeti festival. Um, so I did that, but I had this point in the melodies where I wanted the most natural, the most breathing from every one of the quartet players. So I fucking just played, I improvised this part to, I wrote their opening section, right? I wrote their closing section, and I didn't want to write the center until I came up with a few melodies that I played and expressed it improvisationally, and then chose my lines and where they were being placed, which was pretty ended up being actually completely linear,
Yeah.
but without tempo. And so in the piece, there is a one little part underneath the bed that is always at tempo. And it's at like 55 beats per minute.
Wow.
And it can barely be, I think it can barely be discerned by anyone. It's there if you're listening for it. And you go, but so every once in a while it'll skip a beat, but it's always in that 55 BPM the whole way through. It's really off-putting in some way. And so I wrote these melodies thinking, and I never wrote this. I got so fucked for time, and I do a lot of stuff at the last minute, and it's always incorrect. I'm always too late, but I'm doing it anyway. And I didn't really have a chance to write in the expression for them. So, or really have a good chat about it. Although I sent them a note a little later in time. So I didn't have my expression written in, and I didn't explain, that there's that 155 beat per minute thing that is never going to go away, but you're not there. And they, without me telling them, they interpreted the melodies that I was playing, and I said, these are completely tutti, and I'm playing here too. It's not just me in the background with little noises, and there's an acoustic guitar at the beginning and the end that's just about vibe. And a very resonant acoustic guitar that is tuned to my I'm not sure this is at the right. Does that come through at all?
Yeah, yeah, super.
Okay, so this tuning.
Oh, nice.
And the tuning is, I'll play, I'll just play across.
Oh, beautiful.
So you have that.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so cold in here. I had left the heat off while we were out shopping. This thing is freezing. It's made out of metal, right? I left the heat off and it was like 5
Oh
degrees
shit.
Fahrenheit last night. So there's that, and there's that thing, and then I had these lines, and I went, just fucking play like you play. Just play your melody. Do the melodic shit. Like you know where you want it. You know where generally you want the feeling to be, and I just did that, and then I just transcribed that,
Beautiful.
and I did it, and I had to do the transcription as if it were to that 55 beats per minute, and I wanted them to interpret that middle section, all of that section, as if they were Ornette and Don Cherry and Ed Blackwell playing one of Ornette's melodies or Don's melodies that they knew and had been playing for years, because they would play those melodies and they would change them, and they would change, at very least, the timing of each of the people would be the thing that makes you feel, one of the things that makes you feel so much when you hear them doing that well. So, you know, this whole, the movement from Ornette and Don and the guys from Texas and Chicago art and the world that was so around me and in me somehow, you know. And you know what, motherfucker, they sent a mix. They sent a mix, and I had done a mix for myself, and and I didn't like it. And I was going to write them a note and say, and tell them at that point that this was meant to be breathed, not not considered
Mhm.
in a classically metrical way. And I'm not talking about rubato. I'm talking about that fucked up Dixieland without tempo shit, right?
I
That's what I
love
wanted
that.
to say. I didn't say it, but I kind of moved things around that they had done in their first pass, and all of the writing stuff was fucking perfect, except it wasn't loud enough. So I gave them that note, and he gets the thing, and he goes, Antoine, the concertmaster, he goes, "Did you just sent me a new version?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I just sent you a new version. We went in and we recut this one section. They recut that section, and it's loose, and it's kind of, especially at the almost at the exact first peak of that middle section, it's like perfect. They did what I thought they should do, and I never wrote on paper. I was blown away, dude.
That's rare, man. Yeah,
They
that's rare.
recorded it, and it's coming out on whatever the record is of this night of premieres, and they're also playing. I don't know if you know the Ligoti's first string quartet. Do you know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one?
yeah. I checked them out. Yeah, Ligeti. I
Oh
love
yeah,
Ligeti, man.
the Nocturnes, man, it's incredible. So they're
They're the
playing
best.
that piece, and what they don't know is that I'm going to do a revision of the piece, and I'm going to put those two sections that I removed back into the piece, and I'll probably ask them if they would record it again.
Beautiful.
So, man, you know, like I don't know. That's just something that's exciting to me at the moment.
Oh, come on. Of course.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I wanted to ask you, you said before you sent out tapes, right? For Cloud About Mercury. How did you think of Tony and Bill, by the way? I mean, because it's like it's an ECM record, and I think it's the first time and maybe the only that those guys played on it, or
Oh
no,
yeah,
Bill.
absolutely.
Like, how did that happen, actually?
Neither of them had done anything
No,
from
exactly,
to that with
exactly.
ECM, and they were both very funny. Tony, I knew socially, not in a big way, but I'd been to his house a couple of times, hung out, had coffee. We never played together, but Tony was supposed to be on my first record, solo record for ECM. He
Mm.
agreed to do it. I asked Jack DeJohnette to do it, and it was going to be a really cool record. And Manfred approved of it. Everything was a go. There was a schedule, and I kept Jack lived. I'm sorry, he passed like 2 months ago, but he lived maybe like a 15-20 minute drive from
Oh
my
well, yeah.
house, same area and same mountains, and I had invited him to play on this record, and I let him know this is going to be it's not my first record for ECM, but this is going to be really important to me. And he kind of ghosted me a little bit towards the beginning of the schedule. And Manfred then, I believe, changed the schedule. And then I just never spoke with Jack about it again because I had to realign. And I just called my friend Jeff Gordon, and we went and made best laid
Yeah.
plans after rehearsing for like we rehearsed for like 3 hours or something at somebody else's house because my house was too small to play in.
Amazing.
So Tony, I knew socially, and we were friendly. And the Cloud About Mercury starting up was I really knew that I wanted someone else to be doing a looping job,
Yep.
but someone who was also mastering their instrument or was a master of their instrument and had a sound, had their own voice, and was willing to play stuff that is gonna shit's gonna be loose, you know.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be ornette, but it's not gonna be metrically like anything like the fusion music that so much of which I loved, but which had become tiresome.
Yeah.
Much of it became faster, louder, higher. You know, Can you play that? Oh man, can you do those? Can you hock it between three different key signatures in three different scale at highs at 160 beats per minute? I want you to play 32nd note triplets.
Exactly. Over
No,
7
can
in
I?
quadruplets over 13 or
I
whatever.
want to play one good note. Right? Just one. I'll play 10, but I want one. But I couldn't figure out what to do with Cloud About Mercury. Mick bailed. He didn't show up at rehearsals. I flew to London.
Hmm.
I had Nomis Simon, what's his name, studios. I had Nomis Studios to rehearse in. I paying for this out of my own, not money anymore, money. Right. So Mick is supposed to show up. He doesn't show up. Bill and I are set up. There's no Mick. I'm calling his manager, who was not really his manager, but was really his girlfriend, right? And she's really sweet, and she's saying, I hate to tell you this. Mick had to leave the country very quickly. He's in Pakistan. He which all turned out to be bullshit. Later on, when he told me the truth, the full truth. I won't go into
Sure.
too much of it. None of it was anything other than stupid. It wasn't like drugs or alcohol or anything crazy. It was just like he was scared. He was frightened to join in with musicians who were very different
Interesting. Well,
from him. And he was my choice because I was sitting like a year before that or 7 months before that. I was sitting in a car with sitting next to Jan Garbarek in a car, and Jan had his headphones on really fucking loud, and I'm listening to this shit, and he stopped for a second. I went, "What are you listening to? What the hell is that?" And he said, he just looked at me and went, "Japan," and I went, "What about Japan? Like is it a Japanese band?" And he said, just take the headphones." Puts the headphones on me, and um, they're playing that tune that Mick featured, the instrumental tune. I think is it called Canton?
mm, yeah.
Um, and Mick's doing his thing, and I'm listening to this, and I'm going, "Who the fuck is that bass player? Is that a bass, or is that French producer guy who plays synth? Like, what the hell's happening?" He goes, "That's Mick Karn in the band Japan." I said, "I don't know this band." He goes, "You don't know Japan?" Barbaric.
I would
I'm
not
like,
expect that, man. Yeah.
so I listened to the rest of the record, and somehow I came up with his real manager's uh, uh, phone number, who gave me his girlfriend's phone number, Mick's phone number. So I begged him to join, and I was glad that he finally did it, and we became friends, and it was so great. When it was great, it was just happening. But that band really came together because, and I'm sorry if I'm being too wordy here. I
Oh
go
no, please. I
a
love this,
lot
man.
a lot of sideways shit,
Oh,
but it happened because when I was trying to do the record, the Caught Mercury record, Best Laid Plans was gone. I talked to my mom. I used to talk to her a lot on the phone, although we didn't live in places very close by. I would talk to her on the phone, and I was going to be in New York, and she said, "Can you come out? You want to come out to the house and hang out for a couple of days? I have something I want to show you anyway." And I went, "Yeah, yeah, I'll come out." And I think my wife was not there. I think my wife and son were upstate New York on this, and when I walked in my mom's house, she said, "Come upstairs." I I I I I recorded this video, which I have never done before, because I saw this guy playing drums. You said you were looking for a drummer who was familiar with improvisation, very skilled, and also played electronic drums. And I found this guy, and you should probably pay attention to this. So I videotaped it. I've never done it before, so I hope it works. And she puts it into the machine, and she pops it in, and she's playing 1980, like early King Crimson
yeah, yeah.
concert with Bill playing the Simmons kit, and she goes, "That's your drummer." And I went, "Oh, Mom." she, she goes, "No, no, that's your drummer." And I said, I think you might be right, but it's very unlikely that this is going to happen. So she said, "Are you going to pursue it?" And I said, "Absolutely. What a great idea." So I sent Bill a cassette. Once again, I found somebody who was willing to give me a place to send something to, right?
That's
Oh,
incredible.
God. And I sent him a cassette of some of the stuff that was written that I was just doing with the looping devices. And I hadn't played him. Oh, I might have played that opening figure on the Kotar. I
Yeah.
might have. But there's a Kotar in the corner over there, but I can't trust any tuning right now. It's so cold in here. Um, so I sent him these cassettes, and he goes, "Well, this is not at all what I expected. It's very unusual. And what did you want?" And I said, I'd like to sit with you, come up with some sounds together for the Simmons kit, and write. I will write. Basically, you will improvise with. I'll give you a set of notes. We call them scales or note sets or whatever, and I want you to play in these rhythms with these notes, and
Mm.
we'll have to spend a couple of days together, tuning the kit and just making sure that everything is going to be improvisable if when we go into the studio. And Bill was like, "I don't know why I'm doing this. How much does this pay?" And I told him what the ECM number was at the time, and he said, "Well, you know, I want to do this." So we went to rehearsal, no Mick. I was bummed out. It sounded great with Bill. We set up the general region for all of the electronic drum kits for I guess I don't know how many tunes we did, but it was all set up so that he could freely play, and he was adding this harmonicity,
Yeah.
um, and in some cases accidental melodies to which of course wouldn't be accidental on his part, at a certain point of knowing where everything was, and it was fucking great. And I said, but now I don't have a bass player because this guy Mick, I can't go with this shit. I mean, I can't wait around. I have to make this deadline. I'm not gonna change the lineup for this music that I got fucked on my that I like best laid plans,
Yeah.
but it was like a save the day kind of thing. Do the record no matter what. This was I wanted to be more planned and much more in line with my intentions. And Bill says, "Don't you live really close to my friend Tony?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you know each other?" And I said, "Yeah, we're friendly. I go over once in a while. He tells me some great stories, and and that we haven't really played together or anything." And he goes, "Well, would you like me to talk to him?" And I was like, "Oh no, man! Then people are gonna go Frippertronics. He stole the fucking Crimson Band." And in my head, I'm thinking these things. I don't know if I ever said it out loud to him, but I was thinking this could really suck for me. This could be like, oh, my success is based on the fact that I had a label pay for
Yeah.
these really difficult to get guys who in fact wanted to play on the record. And Tony said yes right away. And I said, "It's really not a lot of money." And he goes, "How much?" And I told him, he goes, "Ha! Yeah, that's not a lot, but whatever. Let's do this." So we moved ahead. So mom, from my mother, who told me about, not knowing that I at the time she didn't know that I owned the first King Crimson record, and that I knew Tony socially. She
I
had
know.
no idea, like, and she just went, "Yeah, I found this guy for you."
I love this, man. That's amazing.
Dude, she was when she was aware. My mother was not aware of a lot of things for a good portion of, especially in her late middle years. She became very, very ill. Memory was shot, and it was really difficult. But when she was on, man, she just like she would have these insights about people, and you just go, "What? Maybe you're right." Oh.
Amazing. She was right, man.
She was right,
Oh,
man.
that's
And she had accepted me back into the fold of the family at that point, by that point in time, generally speaking, since I left home at a very early age, because
mm,
there were a lot of I had a lot there were a lot of emotional difficulties in my domestic family. So that
mm,
happens to people,
sure.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, David, I wanted to ask you, how was the vibe like in the studio? Uh, Tony, Bill, and Manfred seeing all this, knowing of obviously, hopefully, I think those are like kind of prog rock guys, whatever you want to call them. I hate this term, but
It
still.
was me. The only people who had anything to say technically were me, and I lucked out, and Andy Jackson recorded that record. Andy Jackson, who recorded Pink Floyd. I
Mm,
did not realize that I had Andy Jackson in the room until I think it was like a couple of days after I left the recording session in London. Manfred came to the session. He said hello to everybody. For about 10 minutes in the studio, he listened to the beginning of the first piece with the piece that starts with the kotar
yeah,
before I had the solo guitar in front of it. Um, Said he really liked the way everything sounded. He looked at Andy and said, "Let's go out and get a pizza." And literally, and these guys, Bill and Tony, were like completely freaked out. Like these guys who have played at that point in time had played on so many records and so many more sessions than I had done, which was a lot for the time, you know. And it's kind of like it was kind of like, oh, and 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 he did. I believe he didn't pay for our pizza. I believe that he didn't, and I said, "So are you coming back to the studio with us?" He says, "No, no, I've got to get back to Munich. I've a, I have a meeting in the city, and then I've got to go back to Munich. It's going great." You know, it's like, okay, I'm the producer. You know, wow. And
amazing.
again, it was one of those things where you just, okay, well, now everything is up to me. And it was before he got there, and it is after he got there. So at that time, I thought that was I thought he was dissing me. I thought it was a huge diss. And I think my friends, I can say they're my friends now, um, felt the same way, that they were being dissed,
Mm,
that it was just like, you don't take your boy out to dinner? I mean, and the band and the big producer who made the big label that everybody loves, from every
bizarre. Yeah.
different corner of the music universe. Yeah, so I think that was pretty funny. And Manfred's, he's his own person. I don't know if you've met.
I haven't met him yet. I mean, no. I mean, I
It,
heard stories and I played with musicians who are on ECM and stuff, but
lots of,
so,
yeah. So
I've heard.
you've heard more stories than I could tell you, but I have a lot.
I imagine. Yeah, I imagine.
I think I don't know. He was very. I would say that when I did go to the mixing, because I had to be at the mixing session in Oslo. Manfred was his typical self. He was seemingly not paying attention. He would seemingly fall asleep, and then as soon as I'd move the bass drum fader up,
That's amazing.
Jan Erik and I played like little games while Manfred appeared to be sleeping, and Jan Erik would try to move the bass drum up. And never forgave me. Bill and Tony never forgave me for how weak the whole bass level of everything was. And I learned a lot from that. I really learned a lot from that in terms of producing, because love the sound of low
Yeah.
notes.
Yep.
I like them to be rich, and if there's depth, then I want to not only hear that depth, I want to feel it. And I'm not saying I want everything to be super super loud to accommodate that, but I do the idea of there being presence of all hearable material is really important to me
Yeah.
as I really did learn a lot from that session. And Manfred musically was very inspiring. He said to me, "Do you want to play something, one of your solo things, maybe to open?" And I went, "Well," I was kind of like, "Well, okay, I'll do it." So I set up a rig out there. I had a PCM 42. No, I didn't have a PCM 42 with me. There was like some like a Roland looping device that had like it had like a lot less time than my PCM 42 had, but it was loopable. And I think there might have been two of them. I set up a rig with a couple of amps, went out and thought, okay, well, I know where the beginning of the piece starts, so I should vibe my way into that. And I improvised this.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I think I took about an hour to play with ideas and then just improvised the piece, and we cut it into two sections and surrounded the piece with it. And that was very inspiring
Yeah.
to have someone there in that. I mean, I already knew, I knew a lot about, I knew about um, editing and the power of editing in arrangement from radio sessions, from classical sessions, where you're cutting things, you're doing drop-ins all the time, inserts of sections and all that. And I knew about it. I just never seen anybody do it that blithely, and it was at the perfect moment. And um, I actually accidentally met Teo Macero in the tape room at Columbia Records when I was like 20,
Oh,
23 or 24, and my band was being courted by somebody at Columbia. And so me and the lead singer and my dad went to a meeting, and and somebody said, why don't you take David on a tour of some of the technical stuff we have here since he's so interested. And I bumped into this guy in the tape room, and it was Teo Macero.
oh,
And he just, I was like, "Wait, you're Teo?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You're Teo Macero?" And he said, "Yeah. The guy who edits Miles's music together." And I went, "You really do that, huh?" And he goes, "I really do that," or something like that. I'm like, "You want to, it's like, this is all this shit. I did this yesterday." And it's like, and I'm like, "What the hell?" Like 2 years later, 10 years later, I was like, "How did that happen?" We didn't
amazing.
even sign the deal that we were there to sign. It was just a random shit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, dude.
Man,
Crazy,
amazing.
crazy
Crazy.
life.
Yeah. David, I wanted to ask you, how did you enter your style and your sound kind of got further and further into this pop realm or alternative, whatever. Like, especially David Bowie. I mean, your story and connection with him, I think you changed his sound quite a lot, or he used you to change his sound. I don't know how to put it, like, but how was your experience working with him?
I would have to say that that's the right path. I think that he let me,
Yeah,
he encouraged me to do what I thought I should do. And and again, that was I think for both of us, that was an incredibly it was a kind of a packed moment of time meeting him. uh, It's weird. I had when he was working with Nile Rodgers, one of the chief engineer, Nile's guy at the studio, who programmed any synthesizer and gave him like production ideas was somebody that I knew from home, and younger than me, good musician, really fine musician, Rich Hilton. And at some point in 1980, 80 something. It was 80, it wasn't 90. I got to think about this. No, it would have been sometime around probably 1990. I got a call from Rich saying, "You're probably going to get a call from David or Niall because they're interested in another guitar player on the project and they know about you." And it never came to pass. I never got the call. I talked to Rich a couple of times and I said, it's okay. Well, I mean, whatever. At the time, I was only, yeah, no, I was, I would have been gobsmacked to have met him at that time, but not in the same way I was when we were both older.
Yep.
Really, just not in the same way. And so the details of that story have a lot to do with my friend, the film composer Carter Burwell, and and his director, who's also a friend of mine, um, uh, Brian Helgeland, who's Oscar-winning screenwriter, and he's made a bunch of really cool films, and as a director. So we were working on this film. Carter was working on this film, and he called me and he said, "I have a problem, and I think I need you to come in to do something unusual." And I said, "Sure, what is it?" And he said, "David, this is a this is a film that takes place in medieval England, yet some of the things that happen in the film are as if they were, even though everything looks and sounds medieval, seems like it's actually like now." And there's a specific scene where the director Brian he licensed a song from David Bowie to use in a dance scene that shouldn't be in this film, but Brian wants it in the film because of the crazy effect that it has, that all of a sudden there's a David Bowie song playing and all the knights and serfs and maidens are dancing like it's 1999, right? Or whatever. And I go, "Well, what's the problem?" He goes, "Well, we have the song and I need it to be glued into the score." So I said, "So you want me to it's mostly like textural kinds of movements that I should be making that sit with orchestral and David's tune and the orchestral music?" And he goes, "Yeah, there needs to be a bridge. There are two places specifically that it has to be done like extremely smoothly."
Mm.
And I went, "Dude, when?" And he goes, "Can you come tomorrow?" And the next day, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming in. This is gonna be great. We're gonna have a great time." So in about and actually it was probably like a 3 or 4 day break, but the day before I was going to the studio with all my shit, and bringing everything kind of vibe, bring everything, because you don't know where you're going to do. So a lot of instruments moving. Somebody drives me into the city with all the gear. Everything's there. So no, I skipped. I'm skipping a day. The day before, Carter calls me at like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and he said, "I have to tell you that I had David. I took some of the textual stuff that you did for. Oh shit! Oh man! it was for a really interesting movie that we did where I really did a lot of textural stuff. And sometimes you wouldn't know it was a guitar
Yeah.
a lot in certain points of it. He said I took some of that stuff, I changed the pitches so it sat with David's tune and the score, and we cut in some stuff that it's not gonna I knew it wouldn't work as well as you doing it, but this will give you an idea if you want it. And and I needed to play it for David. So he goes, David came over today to hear it. And the first thing he said to me was, how the hell are you doing that? Or what is doing that? And Carter said, that's my friend, David Torn.
Yeah.
And David goes, oh my God, I fucking love that guy. He's so spiritual. Or there's some phrase or something like that. And I went, are you shitting me? He goes, I haven't told you the whole thing. He called you the Yo-Yo Ma of the electric guitar.
Ooh.
So this was like 1990. Oh man, it had to be like maybe like 95, 96.
Already. Wow.
The film is called The Knight's Tale, and both of my transitions lived. They stayed in the film, and David loved it, and he regaled me with the story the first time that we met, that we actually met, which was years later when I got a call from his logistical manager in New York, and they said David's going to call you. He's aware that you work very, very late at night and very, very early in the morning, and so because he does, would you mind if he calls you early? And I said, yeah. Any idea when he's going to call? And he goes, nah, I have no idea. But I'm gonna, I discussed with your lawyer what's happening and what we think is going to happen. So we've got a discussion going on, but I have no idea when David's going to call. He'll call you when he's ready to have a conversation. So it's like 4 weeks later, and I'm sitting here at the computer, and it's like, it's like 6:41 or some shit in the morning, and I'm deep into something that I'm doing, and my phone rings, and I'm like, "Fuck you!" I look right. This is the comedy that feeds my tragedy. I looked at the phone and said, "Fuck you," and I was like, I just didn't pick it up, and I let it ring through. And I didn't check voicemail or anything like that. And I went back to work, and about 20 minutes later, the phone rings again, and I picked it up and I hung up. And then I'm sitting at the computer and I'm going, it's really early. That was a New York number. I mean, what if that was Bowie? And luckily for me, at like 7:30, phone rings again. Oh no, sorry. It was 7:12.
It took 3 calls to reach you by David Bowie, man.
And the phone rings, and I pick it up, and I go, hello? And it said, hello, David, it's David. And I went, David Bowie. And he said, yes, I'd like to talk to you.
So cool.
And then we went and had dinner together with Tony Visconti in a public place with David in costume, so people wouldn't stare at him until they heard his voice, But a relatively private restaurant in New York, but people were staring, and it was weird. It was like, oh shit, man.
It's a different game, right? When you go
it's another lifestyle,
It's amazing. Yeah.
It really is, and I think he's in the rarefied part of that lifestyle, and And what a great guy, man. I really, it was, I, I miss, well, sometimes I really miss working with people who are great singers.
Yeah.
If I'm not doing it, I can sing myself in some pieces that I do that are kind of strange, but I'm not a real singer. And but I get it. But there's that thing about working with people like Chocolate Genius, Katie Lang,
Yeah.
David Sylvian. You know, God, man, there's just John Legend, Cheryl Benteen. It's like there's this thing that happens, and you just feel like that the service that I have had the opportunity to provide has often been do what you want. Show us something that you think is going to work. So that gives me this feeling of like not only being able to try to achieve and fail sometimes, no doubt about it, but to try to do something to amplify a feeling of a piece of music that isn't mine, but
Yeah.
it is moving me as well as a any punter who's on the street might have a feeling for,
Mm.
that I'm offered like a little window into, help us with the arrangement here. There was a Michelle record where I was just fucking around in the side room of the studio, and 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 I was thinking about the piece that they were playing, and I had my kotar out, and I just started playing this little shit, really back to the door, just playing this stuff. I could still hear the tune from where I was, and I thought, well, this could be pretty cool. And I put the instrument down, and I walked out, and about 5 minutes later, Michelle came out and said, "Can you show me that instrument? What is that you were playing?" And I went out and I showed it to her and explained to her why I did it and why, which was to say why I broke this guitar to make this happen, and, which she, I think, appreciated a lot. And she said, I think it'd be really cool if you would just write a little piece like that,
Oh.
and I'll use it, and it'll be yours, and it'll be on the record, and
Oh.
you'll and it'll be like an interstitial, like a like a like a hard cut to a new scene in a film, or
Oh.
a chapter that's out of time with the rest of the chapters for a reason, as some authors do sometimes.
Yeah.
And you get this feeling like, wow, it feels really good to be allowed to try to do something good, even if you do fail. Like the failure thing is huge,
Oh yeah. Sure.
right?
Sure.
Good
Amazing.
example. Tim and I played a duet record. We made a duet record. It live. It was for the Contemporary Chamber Music Festival in New York, and just the two of us. And we haven't done it we've really only done that for real on purpose, not in the middle of a Son of Goldfinger show
Yeah.
where Jess drops out, but specifically the music that just the two of us are making together. So it was recorded on this Nagra. A friend of a friend of a friend recorded it on Nagra tape deck. This is about 2 months ago, 3 months
Mm.
ago, and I listened to it. I listened to the Nagra. I transferred it into digital. I started working on it, and I really liked it. And but I had misgivings about the first piece because it didn't seem like we wanted to be on, but we weren't.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were, and the wavelengths were not aligning in some way, right? You know, like not that we weren't communicating well, but that we weren't we weren't fully listening to the same thing at those moments, you know? And Tim himself said, "Yeah, I'm not so sure about that." And I said, "I'm going to try to do an edit of it and see if it that makes it better." And I bulled my way through, and I came back to saying, I tried edits. I'm going to try one more time. And Tim finally said, don't try. What do you think about the second set? And I said, "Dude, that second set is like, what? It's fucking amazing. I can't believe it. I can't believe how happy it makes me to listen to it.
Mm.
It flows so well." And he goes, "Well, let's just get rid of the other one, and why don't you put the second piece on Bandcamp just alone by itself?" And I went, "Right on, I can do that."
Beautiful.
You know, and I would say that that piece, that first piece, it's not like it was terrible, but wasn't it wasn't right. It just wasn't right.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, and we couldn't. We didn't have the energy until we had played for almost whatever it was, like 45 minutes straight. We didn't really have the energy to until we broke for 3 minutes, stopped, and started again. It was, you know, sometimes you get that on records with singers where you think you have the greatest idea in the world, and you'll come back to it and go, "God, that sucks." I gave up on, man, I gave up on an Elvis Costello piece that I just
I
I
really. Oh wow, interesting.
I had to because I had nothing. It was pointless because there were so many overdubs on the piece, and I was the last one to overdub. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be back upstate at home the next day, and I had just gotten off of a film score. I had just finished No Country for Old Men
Mm.
with Carter upstairs in the same studio, and then T-Bone asked me to come to this session with Elvis, and I went, absolutely. So I was there early in the next day, and I sat there for the whole day thinking about parts I could play. And by 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, "Guys, you have got like John put down like 30 overdubs, and
Yeah.
and and I think it sounds great. I think it sounds great, and you need this song to be done like tomorrow." It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I haven't fucking played a note. I had all these ideas. I don't hear any room. And it's 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. I've been in the studio since 8 o'clock in the morning after the day before, where I was the only soloist for the piece of film, which is stressful.
Yeah.
It's like
Totally.
and I'm just going, I'm not hearing anything. And T-Bone's like, "Well, we can take all those overdubs out." And I said, "How does that make sense? You spent the whole night. I'm not I'm not a producer here, but you spent the whole night doing overdubs, and I don't have the energy. I'm not hearing anything." And they said, "Try." And my assistant said, "Torn, don't do this. You, you should go try." I went, "Okay, I know. If you think I'm being an asshole, I get it. But you do you get what I'm saying? But I'll try. I'm gonna try." I set the stuff up. Everything was already on, just not turned on. Everything was all set up for the whole day. And I start playing something, and I'm playing along, and I'm fixing my headphone mix, and I'm looking at the control room with Elvis and T-Bone Burnett, like, and Elvis's then wife, kind of staring at the window at me, and I'm like, "Hang on, start again. tried to come up. I said, "Give me 5 minutes. Let me see if I can set something up first that maybe might work." And I went about a minute into it, and I went, "Frank, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm never going to be able to face my family. They're going to say you lost the opportunity to ha- make a record with Elvis Costello, one of my wife's favorite singers of that period of time." It's like, eh, and you know what? I was an asshole, but I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. They had it. They had already completed the fucking tune. It was done. you know.
Yeah.
So that is a sort of a failure. You know. I've
It's
had
hard. It's like you take a finished record, like by David Bowie, and like someone says, like, okay, now play something over there. You're like, you know,
well, yeah. But the fact of like somebody being able to say, "Well, we'll pull out all the overdubs."
yeah,
Well, uh, well, that's great for you, fresh start for you, but it's 2:30 in the morning now, or 2:45, and I have to be upstate in the morning, and and this doesn't make any sense. I can't make sense of it. Don't pay me. I don't care, really.
well, yeah,
Just leave it. Leave it alone.
that's amazing.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, you
And
cannot force it sometimes. Yeah, sure.
I felt strongly that it was that I had to fall there. Say, don't worry about it. You want to pick up my hotel from last night or or whatever. That's fine, but then don't pay me. And they did eventually pay me,
Well,
uh,
yeah.
which I hesitated, but finally just submitted and deposited the check. Just because I don't know, maybe it made them feel better. I don't know.
Probably they didn't miss it, man. So,
They don't.
uh,
Oh, didn't miss it. That could be it.
yeah, that was like, yeah,
I mean, two great musicians.
yeah, yeah.
I'm talking to two fucking great musicians, and I'm like, no, this isn't right, you guys. This isn't right.
Amazing.
You want me to stay overnight? And maybe, I think at some point I said, can I stay overnight? Can we do it tomorrow morning? No, we have to mix tomorrow morning. That's why we're here so
Like
late. I'm
really
like,
before, yeah. Wow.
yeah.
And with David, with Bowie, how was that like with you with the creative process? I mean, did did he bring like a sketch or something? Like, how did you get the stuff together? Let's say on Hedon or any of those records you did. Like,
It started with Heathen and it continued unabated in the same way through all of reality
yeah,
and and some of the next
the
day
next
and the
day.
next
Yeah,
day after, but not all of the next day. But the path was pretty clear. He did remain knowing that I was capable of being like very alert very early in the morning, and he lives the same way. So he said, "Is it okay if you?" First, he asked me if it was okay to come in really early in the morning, and I said, "How early?" And he said, "Could you be here by 8?" And I said, "Would 7:30 be
wow,
okay?"
that's
Or something
fantastic,
like
man.
that. And he goes, yeah, no, 8's fine, but if the door is closed when you get here, don't come in. Go back to go to the house and go to the kitchen, have some breakfast, and I'll come and get you because I'll be writing until 8. So that was the setup, and functionally what we would do is as soon as he was ready, he'd pull up a song, and there was only one. I can't remember which tune this was, but it wasn't Sunday. There was one tune where he had this idea that he wanted me to sound like that. Oh man, I think he's dead now. The young composer who was my age then, yeah, um, young guitar player in New York. who had a 100-piece guitar orchestra. Um, and he was in a band called Typical Girls
Oh, shit.
that I was actually part of, and but but all of his music was presented as if it were modern classical music in symphony orchestra like that. It wasn't gig music. It
Okay.
was serious music. I forget his name,
Yeah.
and
Also,
there's like hundreds, really 100 electric guitar players with a special tuning playing this music that he wrote. It
wow.
was incredible sound. And he wanted me in one tune. It was, I think it's, there were three spots where he was really specific in within four or more records. But only on Heathen did he say, there was a rhythmic part that he wanted me to play that I reinterpreted, and then he reinterpreted again, and then I played, and then I believe Carlos Almar doubled it later.
Interesting.
I'm responsible for the uncomfortable stops.
Of course.
In don't let it be consistent mode. And there was one tune where he wanted me to get a sound like that, and I said I can definitely do 100 guitars. I'm not sure it's going to work, and I don't remember which tune it is, but I think that texture is in one of the tunes that I played. So I would set something up. I'd set up a scene. I'd make a loop playing to the recording to tape, and then I would keep that loop and then manipulate it and play
Mm,
other stuff with it in order to get something happening. I believe that happened with that, and he liked that approach. And it was because we started that approach with the most difficult one, and I had the most difficult idea to achieve, which was Sunday, the
yeah.
opening of Sunday, with that loop that I have to manipulate in real time at least 4 or 8 times in a row without MIDI
Crazy.
sync.
That's me. Yeah.
So
Shit.
so it's all mechanical. So that was really hard to do because I'm not only I'm manipulating um, one loop and its gigantic reverb that's on all of it with my feet. I'm standing. I've got that one looping device that I have to, with one of my feet, has to be faded in and out, and I've got four sliders, each with a button above them, mixing this 4-track loop that I made with all those harmonies on it. And
That's crazy.
and 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 I started to show David, and he said, just do your thing and call me when you're ready, right? So so Tony, who was not present for much of that recording with me, he was not there, and it was Brandon Mason and I in the studio. Brandon, the assistant engineer, it was incredible. We were in an incredible place that I chose because David asked me to choose a place, and I said, you know, my friend Mark McKenna, who built Bearsville recording and rebuilt A&M recording in Los Angeles recently, he just built this place up near my house. And Tony goes, is it a lair? And I said, yeah, it's a lair. And I'm friendly with the guy who owns it and the guy who designed it. And Tony, you must know Mark McKenna. He goes, yeah, I know who Mark McKenna is. And David goes, great. I hate Woodstock, but let's go there. And I said, you won't be in Woodstock. Trust me. You'll be in another town. And
Man.
it was a good moment for me when David walked in. Um, and Matt Chamberlain and I were crossed over with each other because Matt Chamberlain was, I'm not sure I was the deciding vote, but I was strongly recommended that he do something with Matt.
Okay.
Some things, and Matt came in and it was incredible, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
So we crossed over. Matt was leaving as I came in, and the guy from the fusion band, Jordan Rudess,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we played on a couple of tracks together that I wasn't thrilled with some of the songs on that one, in how they progressed production wise. I wasn't really thrilled, but Jordan came in and played organ on a couple of pieces, and we played together in a couple of states. But the day that I did the Sunday thing, when David walked into the room, he said, "Show me what you got." And I said, "It's on tape. We might need to manipulate a couple of the iterations because and that's really easy to do. It's not a big deal. It's just a couple of cut, slide, no big deal. Should take like half an hour if somebody's a professional, 40 minutes tops to do it well." And he sat down and he listened to it. And he just looked at me. I don't even know what he said. He looked at me like with a what the fuck on his face.
That's beautiful.
What just happened? How did I don't think he did. I don't think he ever wanted to know what I did or how it occurred, because it was too like it was it was too arcane. I mean, it was really difficult. It was a difficult thing. It was a dumb idea that was smart, but shouldn't have succeeded.
Yeah. It's such a nice beginning of a record, man. Like the perfect
And
tune for
yeah,
that record, really.
so
Perfect.
then there were three records in a row that I start out
Yeah.
and I ended. Every one of those three records, I start the record. I'm there at the front and I'm there at the back
It's a big
at every
compliment.
one of
I mean,
those records, and
yeah.
it was really. I mean, I really would have loved to have completed the cycle that David projected we would have,
Hmm.
and that was we were to have started another project together in January after Black Star.
Really? Oh shit, man.
Yep, we were. Yeah, and I didn't know about any other musicians involved at all, but it turned out that was an email that he sent me, and it ended up being, I couldn't decide if that was an email that he really felt was going to happen and was being really hopeful about his health, because I knew he was sick and I knew he was ill when we were working on the next day. So
Yeah.
I have no idea how to do Black Star and going to the production versions of it and all. I have no idea, but he wasn't the same on the next
Sure.
day. He felt changed, and I felt very strongly that he would disappear, and he was disappearing because he needed either space or to go to a doctor's office. And I could be wrong, but the email that I got, I I just kind of went, "Oh, that's." I was looking forward to it, and when he passed, I realized, was he saying that because it was his way to say goodbye, that
Hmm. Maybe, yeah.
that we did have a future thing to do together, and this is how he could say, not sure I'm going to be here any longer or whatever. That it's me trying to interpret something that's very Bowie-esque and not really interpretable. You
Yeah.
know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
he and I have to say that I've worked with such fucking great musicians in my life. So musicians so far beyond me that it's mind blowing to me when I think about it. And I think about one day in the studio with David when it was just Brandon and David and me. And fuck man, it was Sunday. It was Sunday itself. And he didn't have lyrics. He had his sheets in front of him of these phrases isolated away from each other. And he said, let's do a pass. And we were sitting in the studio that had it was all control room, right? No, I was recording in the
Yeah.
same room. So Brandon's at the console running the console. David's like, an arm's length in front of me on the other side of the console, facing across me and Brandon into a microphone. And he goes, let's just do a few takes of with lyrics so I can get the feeling of what the lyrics are going to be within and how this arc of phrases is going to function together. He said, I have some ideas, some starting points, some things I know work together, but let me just do a couple of improvised passes with the shit. And he's saying 3 notes, third note. I'm sitting there and David's in full voice.
Ooh.
I have my headphones on low so I can hear him really extra clearly, room 2. And I'm just sitting there like it was like suddenly getting really high or something, like stoned in some kind of like what's gonna happen way.
Yeah.
And Brandon touches my elbow and he puts his arm up and he points to his arm, and all of the hairs on his arm and this is a hairy fuck. At the time anyway, all of the hairs on his arm are standing up. So all of the hairs on my neck went. And I was like, I don't know what that moment was other than being like absolutely, completely immersed in
Yeah.
a musical thing. And he's singing to those guitar parts. And I'm like, I don't know. It was just like it wasn't moving like I'm going to cry now. It was moving like I can't do anything else but sit here frozen.
Yeah.
Fucking blew my mind.
That's
So so he was working to the unedited version, which didn't need much editing, that little bits of sliding. And everything was in this program Logic, Logic?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And Tony was brand new to Logic. He was a Pro Tools guy. He had never used Logic before, and he didn't have like private commands under his fingers at all. Brandon said to me, what am I going to do? Tony's going to try to edit this in Logic tonight. And I said, I can take it home and I can do it in like a half hour or less. You can pick it up tomorrow morning and, or I'll bring it up or whatever. But what do you think? And he goes, man, do you think you should ask David that? And I said, I'd rather not. Could you do it? So Brandon asked David, and David immediately went to Tony and said that he said, I'm releasing this tune for David. He's bringing it back on the original drive. There won't be a copy and he's going to do the editing. And I don't know if that created bad blood between me and Tony for a minute or a year or whatever, but that's what I did. And then it was either I don't know, it was like the following day or within 2 days after that we woke up to 9/11.
Oh yeah, shit, of course. That influenced probably. Of course, yeah.
And David's wife and baby had gone back to New York the night before. You know, it was really a mess. It was a mess personally for me. My sister, I couldn't find for a couple 3 days, and I'm pretty sure I saw Carter running up the West Side Highway from his house because it was very close to the World Trade Center. And man, what a that was a an incredible period of life, you know.
Yeah,
Period.
can imagine.
Uh,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's just no, it's amazing. Look, because your sound really made that decade and a half really influenced his music so much, I think.
I,
And that's such a big thing. That's huge, man. You know, it's I don't know, at least in my ears. Or
I feel it, and I felt, you know, like ego wise, I was kind of. Tony said something about the Black Star band that really bothered me. Like he said
mm,
something in public about, you know, David had never worked with jazz musicians in this way, and I was like, "What are you talking about?
exactly.
Remember, Tony, you love me. I improvised everything." You know, who played all those wrong notes in that little tune that became one of the extra tunes on purpose? Who did that? Who improvised that? Did David tell me to do that? No. Well, it really it was one of those things where it cuts you for a minute and then you
Mm,
go, oh, it's ridiculous. He probably lost his mind for a second and forgot everything and wanted to say something that sounded, you know, this has never happened, you know, like who, like, you know, rock
yeah.
stars, you know. Like,
Yeah, well, it's interesting that Munder came to do that because you know he's in the same way as you in a way. It's different playing, different chords, but texture-wise, you know, he creates a lot what you did, like a
yeah,
continuation of doing the sound. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah. I think that the he was thinking about that probably in terms of the band
yeah,
of it, and and we know each other, you know. I mean, we played gigs together,
really. Oh wow. And Ben is a great guy. I mean, he's a nice,
yeah, yeah, and he, you know, we did a guitar show together in which everybody had to set their setup up solo. It was only one person was in a trio, and everybody else was solo. Elliot, me,
beautiful.
um, why did his name just slip my mind? Guitar player we're talking about.
Ben Munder.
Ben.
Yeah, yeah,
And
sure.
Ben set up right next to me, and he looks down at my rig and he goes, "Oh my God, it's like Star Trek in here. Everybody's got more shit than I have." And I said, "Sorry, can't help it. I got a lot of looping to do. It takes a lot of knobs, dude."
Yeah,
Oh man.
amazing man.
I
Yeah.
remember Ben from way. I remember Ben when there was a point in time where he lived in Texas. Really, like there was some point
Hmm,
he
mhm.
left New York for a while. I think, you know, he's a funny dude.
Oh, he's a funny guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's
love
a
him.
motherfucker player.
Oh, Jesus, the chords. I mean,
Yeah,
It's just like you know, I
Yeah.
bought his composition book like years ago, and you know, I was trying to play some of that stuff, and it's like, dude, 17/8 and constantly changing some. I was like, damn.
17/8. Oh man, I
You know,
love
whatever,
this.
just like something really heavy, constantly changing inner voicings. Everything is like, ah, heavy. But yeah,
I got into this thing, speaking of that stuff, because Ben, I believe that Ben had, he probably didn't pull as much from Wayne Krantz as I did. I only pulled one thing from Wayne, and I don't do it the way he does it because I'm very interested in what the next wrong note is going to lead me to, um, as a part of my onboard normal ethos. That's pretty much what it is. What is that? I know this note is going to sound wrong, but where will it take me?
mm,
Or this sound. It's the same thing. I'm going to make this sound. It's not going to be. It's going to. It's going to sound like it's out of context and then not sound like it's out of context. Create another space for something else to happen. And I pulled from Wayne this whole, and I do this so much, and it seems like I'm making mistakes, right? But it's very purposeful.
yeah.
So like, here, let me just see if this thing works. You never know. This could this could work. Might not work. Is everybody there? Okay.
The bus sound started, so that's good.
What's that?
It started like, bzzz, so that's a good sign.
Oh, you can hear it? Oh, good. My computer is set up. I see what's wrong.
Whew.
Wow, that's a lot of something. I know why. I was recording last night on somebody's tune, and it wanted a bath. The guitar sound really wanted to be in a bathtub, like a big bathtub. But those things, those very things, like doing these pull-offs.
Yeah. Yep.
Wild pull-offs, just doing them from anywhere. Like it doesn't matter. It's like
Yeah.
and then deciding what to do with that. And I get that from Wayne, but Wayne did it in a way that is much more classically tonal. And I like having the ability to one, surprise myself, two, be challenged by that, three, turn it into something, and then be able to also not just play horrifyingly stupid shit, but then play something that is meaningfully melodic, but make my own harmony of
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
completely. So it isolates me. It's only isolated when you're working in a fully tonal situation where you really need to be
Yeah.
not shocking, and it happens when you're working, but when I'm improvising, I come to everything completely by feel,
Yeah.
just by feel, what I'm hearing, how the music is leading me, and how I will or will not get to have the opportunity to guide it. You know, like, and so I pulled that off of I I met Wayne because I mixed a record for him like way back in the like middle 90s. I mixed a record for him and a record that he made with Lenny Stern.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
And,
Separate cages
and
probably or something
Wayne
like.
would come up
Yeah,
and we'd hang out. And so I went to a bunch of gigs where I realized how fucking great his timing is.
yeah.
Just and that of course includes the playing. And I realized that he was doing at that period of time so many pull-offs. And I went, well, what happens if you do that but you're me? And it just became like, like completely worked into where I go, like. I really like it that I have
Beautiful.
this thing set up so that I don't know how bad that sounds on your side,
Oh, it
but
sounds perfect, man. I could listen to you like 20 minutes now. Just playing.
I know how bad it
Beautiful.
sounds when you don't have this thing engaged on the Macintosh, which is high quality audio on your microphone. They
Yep.
give you an opportunity for it to sound better. I was like, wow, how come no one told me about this?
That sounds beautiful, really. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. That's why it sounds so great with Tim. Like when I first heard you, that Presence record, like and Rainey and Craig, you just fit so perfectly also in that context. So in the same time you were doing a Bowie record and playing with those, out there New York guys, which is amazing, and it all makes perfect sense with you. It's like, yeah,
That was such a great band to
oh
play in.
man, one of my
And
favorites.
it's certainly one of my favorite records that
Absolutely.
I've made, and I don't like all of my records, and Presence is very, very high on the list. I mean, it really is. And there were enough people that noticed it that we did have the opportunity to tour, and I wish that it didn't happen at the time when I was involved in the most films that I was working on. It just it all just kind of slammed together, and it almost broke me down somehow, but
Sure. Yeah.
because I was living in Los Angeles, and my wife was here in New York, and then she'd come out to visit me sometimes for in the any warm weather. Uh, she would not leave home, because we've been growing these gardens at our house for, I don't know, we've been married for 52 years or 53 years or something like that. And we've had this property since fucking 1983.
Well,
And it was shitty when we bought it.
oh, yeah, sure.
Really shitty. And now the only thing that's shitty is my studio, and everything else is beautiful. The gardens are incredible, and I was under a lot of duress at that period of time. Really, the films were. I worked on some great films. I'm really happy I did. I I'm really happy that I had the opportunity to work primarily tonally with film score, primarily, not all, but primarily, and maintain that kind of like allowance for sonic atmosphere to be of importance
Hmm.
in the sound of the score,
Yep.
regardless of what the storyline was, as long as it was suitable to storyline, which is an art that you you build with such difficulty when you work on crazy people's films, and all film people are crazy, right? Even Jarmusch, but at least he's a sweetheart. You know?
Amazing, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, I really, it was a really, it was a really kind of weird period. I missed a lot. I had no idea that the great guitarist Jeff Parker lived a couple of blocks away from me
Oh wow.
in Pasadena, where I lived in California. I had no idea. Didn't know. I was so in my world. I had a nicer studio there than I have at home. But if I win my next lawsuit for copyright, I'm going to probably rebuild this room. And I think I'm going to win this suit, and I think there's going to be no way around it for the people who used my material without paying me.
Yeah, that's another story, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Fingers crossed. Cool.
Yeah, I'm on.
Cool, David. I'll leave you so that you don't freeze to.
No, now it's warm.
It's
I
warmer.
turned,
Okay, okay. I
yeah,
feel bad now already.
as I walked in, I turned the heater
Okay, okay,
10 feet away from me.
okay.
I have one of those oil heaters, so I'm good. But if we're done, we're done.
Yeah, yeah. It was like next time when you come to Europe, we'll meet for we live in a wine region here, so just come over and
So
hang.
I'll be in Paris from at least the 12th through the 15th of
Oh
January.
man, we have a guest room here. Really, seriously. Just let me know if we can.
I'll be in Dresden on the. I think I might be playing with Sonar, the Swiss band that I play with.
Yeah,
I might be playing in Dresden on the 10th of January. What town are you in?
I'm in Maribor, which is like a 2 hour. Like you know where Graz is in Austria,
Yeah, yeah,
or like Vienna. Like I'm 2 hours south of Vienna.
yeah.
So if somehow you may, you know, you can, I can show you around here. We can go for a nice wine. We live in a wine region in the vineyards, and so
Oh
it's a really
man.
nice area, you know.
What's on your southern border? Where?
Like we're in between, our northern border is Austria, then on the east is Hungary, and south is Croatia.
Right,
So we're
right,
like kind of, you know, from where I live, it's 2 hours to Vienna, 1 hour to Zagreb in Croatia, and 3 hours to Budapest, and 3.5 hours to Venice. So kind of,
right. I was thinking about there's a real I met through actually through a Polytown gig decades ago.
sure, yeah.
I met this Canadian guy who is a huge music fan, and he has managed many musicians' tours. And he managed the Sonar tour of Colombia that we did in September, which
Mm.
was it was unbelievably I mean this, it was unbelievably successful. And I really like this guy. And so he might come to Paris with me, maybe. And I since I'm playing a gig in Dresden beforehand, I'm just wondering if I shouldn't play a solo gig somewhere, at least in Paris. If not, maybe because I can train anywhere.
Yeah,
I
sure.
have I, I have I have two heavy bags and a guitar, but it's still reasonable.
Europe is doable. Yeah, trains are very
Yeah,
good connections. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's not the States.
No, no, no. We're like Germany, France, you know, Switzerland, Austria. That's also good connected. I mean, it's amazing.
We're touring Son of Goldfinger, by the way,
Oh, man.
in May
Oh,
for like a week on the east coast of the States. And wait, there's more. And I'm going back to Colombia for probably twice the amount of time that I spent this year next September. And I have signed a deal with a new record company whose people I fucking love called KOU
Oh,
Records.
don't know it. Okay.
It's the producer Randall Dunn and his partner in crime, who is an incredible electronic musician, Charmaine Lee. And Randall is really like, to call him a top-notch producer and engineer would be almost insulting. I mean, he's like so fucking good. He's so good, and we made the record already. So I'll make sure you get one when
Oh
it's
man, please, yeah.
it's. I think it'll be released. I'm sure it'll be released in March. I'm hoping that the plan. I'm supposed to do something like a video, like Coffee and Cigarettes with Jim Jarmusch, as a marketing
Ooh,
event that will be a stupid amount of fun. That's in the plan. That should happen in January, I think.
fantastic, man.
It's a pretty exciting time. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, man. So nice to hear you talk about these things. I could just listen for hours, actually.
yeah,
Just
yeah. There's a lot. What do they say in America? They say, and you want to punch them. They say it so much, but the America they say there's a lot to unpack here.
oh
Right?
yeah. I mean, we haven't even touched. I mean, so much stuff. I mean, just like I said, with a bottle of wine next time here, like just the your mastering and mixing processes and all that. It's like probably another 3 hour story. How you
I
approach
have
things.
to, I am now medically, it's medically important that I had to cut my alcoholic intake down to um, lower than I'm used to, and I'm not an alcoholic by any stretch of the imagination. Was always a very stable drinker, but I miss my whiskey and my absinthe.
Well, this is my whiskey. You see that?
Oh God.
I mean,
Oh,
those are
anything
all empty.
Japanese?
I mean,
Anything?
there's three Japanese ones, but mostly it's like Scots single malt Scottish. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
really into whiskeys, so I'm like quite
yeah.
like
That's what this is like has broken. It hasn't really broken it because I still do it, but I can't do it the same way. Normally, Tim and I would always have a single malt
sure.
before a gig, and typically something at the end of the gig that's either tequila or a mixed drink like a Negroni
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a Negroni with tequila and mezcal. Um, that's what I'm missing right now, but I'm okay.
yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to I have to I've got some funky shit in my heart among my other problems. So
Yeah, you should take care.
you got to
It's
bend
not worth.
sometimes, right?
Absolutely, absolutely,
So
man. Cool, beautiful, man. David, thanks so much
fun,
for
very
sharing this.
fun to hang, dude.
Yeah, you too. I could just go on for hours actually, but yeah, beautiful,
If you
man.
send me a tune that you like,
Of
something of your own. Send me a
I
tune
will.
by email.
I'll send you some links. I've done so much music as well, and
Yeah,
so I'll send you
be nice to
some links.
hear.
Yeah, thank you. I will send it to you. And like I said, if you're gonna have some days off or something, just really drop me a line, and maybe we can get together. That you come here and we hang a bit.
I'm sort of desperate to try to get Jean Pierre to get me to certain places because I like places. So I really need to go back to Istanbul.
Oh yeah, sure.
I need to visit Izmir while I'm
Oh
in
yeah.
Istanbul, and which means I might end up. I have some fans in northern Macedonia, and the festival there, and I might be able to do that festival again
Oh, in Skopje, you mean?
sometimes. Yeah, Skopje.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure. I played there like once, yeah. Like it's a beautiful festival, man.
yeah, yeah.
It's in
I like.
October, no, October or November, I think it is. So.
Yeah, I like Macedonian food.
Oh man,
And And south of Skopje, where that valley is, those high cliff river valleys, that's a really nice place to hike.
Yeah. And Ohrid there, the lake and the wine area there. It's like, oh man, come on, hit me.
I know.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. It's nice to travel and see these places in Europe. I mean, it's so beautiful. So yeah,
Uh, I hope I
cool.
don't have to. I might have to get. I don't know if this is possible, but I do know I could get an Austrian passport pretty easily because my maternal grandmother was born and raised there for 6 or 7 years. I can get a Romanian passport because because who can't? No, I can get a Romanian passport because almost both sides of my family, I have relatives
Really
there.
interesting.
Yeah, from 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 going back to I actually don't know when. Same with Istanbul,
Wow,
um,
man.
and yeah, it's it's pretty mixy uppy.
It's like
But
every American, right? Basically.
but I would like to have a Swiss passport
Sure.
because as weird as Swiss people are, um, it's so fucking safe there.
Yeah,
I, I've never ever
it
in
is.
my life, in all the places I've been in the world, I never feel I get off the plane in Zurich and you're in Zurich, people are speaking Swiss German, right? And which isn't cool. You know?
That's a nice statement, man. It's like the
And
slogan for Switzerland, actually.
you go to Zurich and, it takes people a year to learn to look you in the eyes. And, uh, and, and yet every time I go there, when I've been going there like twice a year for the last 7 years, 8 years, as soon as I get into the airport, I just feel this weight of
Mm.
the American pressure fall off of me,
Yep.
fall off because they've never had a war there since what's his name Hannibal was around, dude. They've never had a war there. They have all the money.
Yep.
They don't have very much religious and racial strife at all. It's very, very hard to see it.
It's a secluded area, yeah, within it's
It
yeah,
truly secluded, though.
yeah,
They
yeah,
have four languages.
yep, yeah,
And so I get off the plane and I'm like, God, I try every time I go, I get in the airport and I call my wife as soon as I'm there and I say, honey, you gotta come to on one of these trips with me. You just have to come here and
yeah,
stay here. We gotta do like Christmas and yeah, you're gonna be weirded out by people because it's cold. People are cold and they don't look at you in the eyes as you're walking down the street. Nobody smiles at you usually. Certainly not in German Zurich, right?
yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I think I can get a passport.
Well, considering where you are in the States right now, I mean, what people tell me, like it's insane, man. It's yeah,
We honestly don't know what's going to happen. We
yeah, yeah.
don't
I
know
know. I
what's
can
going to
imagine.
happen, and I think that there's a growing. I am part of the progressive movement, active in the progressive movement, and there's a huge upswing of people who want not one impeachment of Trump, but both impeachments,
Sure.
so that because he's broken so many, not just him, but the system that is built around him or for him is they're breaking so many of the laws that have guided whatever ethics we had in America.
Yep.
Whatever they are, we were on an upswing. We had been on an upswing of inclusion and people not hating each other and black and white being people realizing that we're not all exactly not mixed race, really, and that we're all immigrants and
Yep.
and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
and the dumb Democrats let them do it.
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's too much.
It's too much. It's speechless. Like,
I know
but
we
yeah.
can't solve it. There's no
No,
resolution
no. Yeah. It's
until somebody else makes the big move. You know.
yep. Yeah.
Anyway, dude.
Anyway, man, David, let's stay in touch, man. And
Yeah. Call me anytime.
yeah, you too.